Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of What's on the Bench, or in my case, Table. And today it is Toyota time. So we're looking at some of the Toyotas today. So the first Toyota we are looking at is an FTX Outback Hilux, or outside of the UK, an RGT Pioneer. So it's been out of action for a while. Due to the spur gear got stripped on one of the last runs when we did our submarine video, which I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that out. So we just got it fixed the other day, fitted a new spur gear and fitted a brand new Holmes Hobbies 5-slot, I think it's a Crawlmaster 10 turn. Took it out the other day and destroyed the motor in like 5 minutes. So that motor's no good. So, as you might be able to see in front of us, we are going to fit a brushless Hobbywing Fusion Pro. Now I've gone for all the 2300 kV because I like a bit more speed, especially with this one. This is kind of our beta truck. So, it's a cool little truck, but, we do pretty much beat on it constantly. So we're going to be getting this motor and ESC combo in there, and we'll see what it's like. But also, I just thought it'd be a good opportunity just to talk about some of the other things that I've already done to this rig to make it a bit better. So out of the box, it's okay. It's a decent little trail truck. But with some of the modifications we've done to it, it's much, much more capable. So let's take a look and we'll go through some of the things we've done. So first thing is obviously the different wheels and tyres. So just picked up some cheap steel wheels from AliExpress, and then these are basically Hyrax copies and Proline Hyrax copies, which, they're actually pretty decent. They're not vented, so, they're fairly supple, but they've got a pretty decent grip, even in the wet. I've been quite surprised how well they've done. We've got some videos where we've been rock crawling, and it's been, climbing up the rocks in the wet, and, they do an all right job. And I think they only cost like, I think for the wheels and the tyres cost me something like $22 or something, which is just crazy when you consider how much a genuine set of Prolines are. Granted, they're not going to be as good, but, it was just a cheap upgrade for the time. So we got the wheels and tyres, but we've also got, as well as I've added wheel weights on the wheels as well, which has made quite a nice difference to how it handles. We've added a few little things, the body, some scale accessories, some sand ladders, some little ropes that I've made, and then we've got like a spade on the side and a few stickers and stuff like that. Okay, so for the actual chassis, so obviously there's our Holmes Hobbies Crawlmaster, which lasted. I think it's a Crawlmaster Sport. Literally lasted like 10 minutes. So, we were mudding and ripping it through water, but I wasn't very impressed. To be honest, I've tried the Surpass Hobby 5 slots, and they've lasted longer. So I was a bit disappointed because I was hoping this would be able to take much more abuse. So whether I was just unlucky, I don't know. But it literally burnt out within like 10 minutes of mudding. And I wasn't even, okay, I was going pretty hard, but But anyway, so modifications. So we've got a Hobbywing 1080 ESC, really nice upgrade over the stock ESC. The stock ESC on the Hyrox is not very good. It's all right, but reverse is really, really harsh. So anyways, we've got a 1080 on there, still running the standard Dumbo RC receiver and transmitter, and we're actually still running the stock steering servo, which is starting to make some funny noises and get a little bit twitchy, but to be fair, it has taken some serious abuse. I've had this rig for over a year now, and it's been in the sea. It's done all sorts. It's spent half its life in mud and water. I don't know how many runs I've done in actual seawater where it's been submerged in seawater. So considering this is completely stock, I've been surprised it's done so well. So underneath, so we have actually got for the drive shaft that goes from the gearbox to the centre, we have actually got an RC four-wheel drive Punisher drive shaft, because one of the main issues with this rig is that the drive shafts and that would always slip off, and the one that goes from the gearbox, the shorter drive shaft, would actually twist the pins, and then it would completely come off, and it'd be a nightmare when you're out crawling to get it back together. So I upgraded that to an RC four-wheel drive Punisher drive shaft. I did actually just get some cheap like eBay drive shafts for the front and the rear. The front one did actually eventually come off, so we lost half of that, so I went back to the stock one, and now I've kind of like you know, Loctited and rammed it on there. It hasn't come undone. It does come loose every now and again. You got to keep tightening up. So that's a little bit frustrating because they're not a pin and a grub screw. It's just a grub screw. Okay. So I was thinking about changing the output shafts at some point. But anyway, so we've got kind of one metal drive shaft, one stock drive shaft. Then we've changed the axles. So we've actually got aluminium axles with the pumpkins. So again, obviously that made a bit of difference, a bit more low down weight. But yeah, otherwise it's just basically the front and rear axles, the Punisher drive shaft, the one metal drive shaft, the steel wheels and the copy Hyrax tires with the wheel weights, and then obviously the 1080 ESC. So with all of those on there, you know, it's a much better rig than it was out of the box. But yeah, you know, pretty decent rig. But yeah, so we will, now we've got a dead motor in there, we will get this Fusion Pro in there, and then it would be really interesting to see what it's like. I was considering trying to get a 2-speed for this, because I think that'd be awesome, especially with the brushless system. But for now, I'm just going to run it with a standard single-speed gearbox with the Fusion Pro. We'll see what it's like, and hopefully it lasts more than 10 minutes and can take some of the abuse in the water and the mud. You know, it's a completely sealed unit. Let's take it out of the box a minute and have a quick look, shall we, while we're talking about it. So it's an all-in-one motor and ESC, and it's got the FOC technology. So, you know, it's got brilliant low-down torque. You know, as you see a lot of people, you know, show them online where you just basically dial the dual rate up on your throttle. So it's crawling without any throttle, and it still crawls over obstacles. But it's a completely sealed can. And obviously it's an all-in-one. So it's ESC and motor all-in-one. So you've got your waterproof socket and power switch so that you can program it via the little port. Okay, I went for a Dean's connector because all my batteries are Dean's. And then obviously you've got your output to your receiver. It's a 540 spec size, so it should fit nicely in there. Okay, but we're going to get that fitted. We'll give it a go. We'll see what it's like. I'll do a little separate review video on the Fusion Pro as well, just in case you're just interested specifically in that. So that'll be interesting. And then what I'm hoping as well is that then when we take the 1080 out of here, I was thinking about possibly putting it in the war rig. If you haven't seen the war rig, then I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Check that out. That was on episode 1 of our What's on the Bench, or table. But yeah, so that's it for the High Rock. So just some updates of that. We'll get that motor in there, we'll get it back on the road, and then we will hit some more trails. We'll do some more mudding and some water runs, hopefully with a lot more wheel speed, and we'll have some fun with it. The next thing on the bench is a much smaller Hilux. So this is the WPL C24-1. So I recently did a review video and some running videos of it on the channel. Obviously it's, you know, really super cheap rig, you know, a bit more toy grade than hobby grade, you know, very plasticky, but I was actually quite surprised with how well it did. So I've already bought some portal axles. So like I think they were like $11 for portal axles, so front and rear. I think they're plastic but with metal gears and then metal outputs. But so it'll be interesting just to see what it's like with the portals. I have ordered some new wheels and tyres as well. And I've also ordered some shocks and springs as well. So we're going to be changing the shocks and springs. They're not going to be oil filled. They're just literally just shocks with springs. So at least hopefully it's not too bouncy. I'm going to stick with a stock motor and the stock ESC all-in-one receiver and everything for the moment. I have coated the stock ESC and receiver in conformal coating. And I've coated the LEDs on the front as well, just to waterproof everything. So we'll see, you know, how much of a job it does. But we're going to change the wheel and tyres. We're going to fit the portal axles. We'll change the shocks and springs. I'm going to put some scale accessories on it, and I'm waiting for a driver to turn up so I can get a driver in there as well. I might have a go at doing some weathering on this rig as well, as it's so cheap. I mean, I paid like $50 for this thing with 3 batteries and everything, you know, ready to run. So super cheap. And to be fair, you know, not too bad out of the box considering how cheap it was. But we're going to get the upgrades on. We're going to see what it's like. What I also am hoping to do as well is do some comparison videos between this and I've got an SCX24 Bronco with a hard body. So it'd be interesting to see the 1/24th scale versus the 1/16th scale, how they compare. And then I was also thinking we'll do a comparison this stock versus something like a TRX4. Obviously, you know, no comparison, but just so out of interest, you can see how does a cheap little WPL compare to something like, you know, a branded TRX4. And then what we can also do then is we can get the upgrades on and we can see how it compares as well. So this is obviously another project that's on the bench. So keep your eyes out for that. So that is it for today's video. Just the Toyotas, just the 2 Hiluxes, big and little. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Check out my other videos on the channel as well. We've got lots of running videos, reviews and things like that. Let me know what you think of the What's on the Bench videos, or table. And if you're enjoying them, drop me a comment if you've got any questions. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.